Right, so after this little exercise session, I suggest let's talk about loneliness. So let me tell you about Finn Kitson. Finn Kitson was a 19-year-old boy. He started uni in September at Manchester University. He was really, really excited about that. He was also a very keen Cambridge City FC football player. So everything started well, but then he had to go into isolation because someone was tested positive for COVID. So he went into isolation. That means he couldn't join any clubs, couldn't have any lectures face-to-face, everything went online, couldn't even go to the supermarket. He was basically just receiving daily food boxes. And he could only speak with the people in the flat that he didn't know. So then by the beginning of October, he started becoming more and more anxious. And then people stopped hearing from him. Finn was found dead in his flat. Now we obviously see young people struggling with anxiety, especially freshers, when they face this new challenge in their lives. But 2020 is a different level. We are facing loneliness so much more differently that we are not prepared for it. The ONS has done a survey in autumn 2020 that showed that more than 1 in 5 students said their mental health was much worse. 63% actually felt that COVID posed a significant risk to their mental health. The NUS poll showed that 52% reported that their mental health had deteriorated, but only 29% really sought any help. And if they did, only half of them were really happy with the help that they received. If we go back to the other scale of the age, we see that elderly people, they're already more lonely. But this year, it was even harder. They couldn't see their families, they couldn't see their friends, they had to shield. Now Christmas is coming up. Surveys have shown that twice the number of people as normal will be spending Christmas alone this year. Putting that into numbers, this is 1.7 million people who will be spending Christmas alone at the age of 65 and over. And this has doubled to 14% in comparison to the previous year. Now, are we actually that surprised that the World Health Organization has deemed mental health the silent pandemic this year? I don't think we should be surprised about that. Looking at data, depressive symptoms have gone up, and also substance abuse has gone up. Unfortunately, treatment has almost disappeared. Mental health services are being closed, being replaced by COVID treatment centers. Face-to-face appointments are being reduced, and walk-in clinics have closed. This is Dr. Tedros. He's the medical director of the World Health Organization, and this is the statement he issued in May of this year. But why do we actually need social contact? What's behind it? And I'm wondering, have you ever heard of the 7-38-55 rule? This rule shows that 7% of all of our communication comes through verbal communication. 38 is the tone of the voice. And 55% comes from body language. These are the 3 components we need when we interact with other humans. These are the 3 components that we need, that our brain needs to develop and to be happy. Now let's look at the brain. So you see the blue part. The part is the frontal lobe, which is right here, essentially. And this is where our brain processes what we think, what we feel, and what we should anticipate. Then it brings all the information together in the insula. And then when we look at the temporal lobe, this is the orange part, this is where all of our associations are happening with objects, with persons, with experience. And this is where we're combining facial features as well. What happens in the isolated brain? Research has shown that loneliness leads to shrinking of parts of our brain, and especially the frontal cortex. And not even big areas like the frontal cortex, but also really small areas like the pea-sized amygdala area, which processes emotions, can shrink because of loneliness, and stress hormone levels can increase. Stress hormone levels such as cortisol, for example. And why is all of that important to us doctors, as well as patients, as well as our family and everyone else? It's because loneliness is a significant risk factor for heart disease, for hypertension, for stroke, you name it. And why is it? Is it because the stress hormone level, cortisol, is released and then leads to a process of chronic inflammation. So the body is constantly on high alert, which drives up your blood pressure, which drives up your respiratory rate, and it's just a constant stress. It has an impact on things like sleep. That has an impact on anxiety, and that all has an impact on healthier life choices. Even the amount you move during the day. If you're not feeling motivated, you're not going to do it. And therefore, the pressing question is, what do we do differently in 2021? How do we make the next year less lonely? We will talk about this in this chat today, but just some things to brainstorm. We can all be a bit more creative. We can be a bit more open-minded. We can be a bit more noisy, asking our friends and family, are you really okay? And just be interested. How does it feel for my friend or my colleague to do what they do? Thankfully, we also have quite a lot of resources and that are free. And do you remember Finn? The boy I spoke about right in the beginning of my presentation. Friends of Finn have raised £26,000 for the Calm app. So that's good. So then more and more people can be helped. Thank you.